House of the Dragon Season 2 recently ended. So let's see how Season 2 compared with Season 1. Now these are the IMDB reviews, and you can see that Season 2 didn't perform as well as Season 1. And it's not just here, it's on other review sites. It's quite obvious that there was a nosedive in quality in Season 2 compared to Season 1. Season 1 of House of the Dragon was really well liked by many reviewers and many fans, but most of them realized that it just wasn't as good as the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones, or the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones, depending on your opinion. Now, Season 1, you have 8.7, 8.3, 8.7, 8.8, 9.1, 9.3. Scores like this. And for Season 2, we have 8.2, 7.7, 9.5, 7.4, 6.2, 6.3, and then 8.9. So we have half of the season being okay, and then the other half being less than okay. There was obviously problems with the quality of the writing in Season 2. The directing wasn't quite as good. The characters weren't as interesting. And HBO did not give the showrunners enough money to film a lot of battle scenes and a lot of action scenes. And with this type of show, you need to have some kind of action, some kind of drama. It can't just be people talking and politicking. We have half the season being kind of a dog and another half being all right. The reason why one of the episodes got a 9.5 is there was a big action scene and there was dragons involved and a lot of drama, and a pretty important character disappeared. So this is what IMDb is telling us. George R. R. Martin also talks about Season 2 being not up to his standards. So in Not a Blog, which is George R. R. Martin's personal blog, he says at the very end of his entry on August 30th, I do not look forward to other posts I need to write about everything that's gone wrong with House of the Dragon, but I need to do that too, and I will. So George R. R. Martin has told everybody that he doesn't like Season 2, but he's on record for saying that he likes Season 1. He's happy with the result. So let's hear what Kit Harrington has to say about House of the Dragon.
But I don't think I'll ever watch that show, and I don't think I'll watch Game of Thrones again for very many years.
So Kit Harrington says that he doesn't watch Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. And Kit has been on record for saying that he was traumatized by his experiences leaving Game of Thrones. For him, this was his life for about 10 years, and the show ended pretty badly. And he wasn't ready, for the backlash and also the loss of the whole structure. Went to therapy, even turned to alcohol for some time. He had some personal issues. And he also says that he wanted to play a whole character arc.
Or it felt like the thing I wanted to do was get into doing a full character arc rather than an episode of this, an episode of that.
He's referring to the Jon Snow spin-off on HBO. So what does Kit say about the Jon Snow spin-off?
It's not, there's no plans for it at the moment. It's off the table for the foreseeable. We threw around a few ideas, nothing really stuck, and we're going to leave it there for the moment.
So Kit's on the record for saying that the Jon Snow sequel isn't happening. Not surprising, because there isn't material for it. George R. R. Martin hasn't finished Winds of Winter, and he hasn't finished A Dream for Spring. So quite obvious why this happened. So the biggest problem with this franchise, this great big franchise that was once taking the world by storm, is that it's unfinished. George R. R. Martin keeps on procrastinating Winds of Winter, and he's been doing it for 13 years. We have spin-offs like A Fire and Blood, A Night of Seven Kingdoms, etc. The reality is that the spin-offs are not as good as the main material. The prequels aren't as good, and that's a problem. Fire and Blood is just a history book. The characters aren't fleshed out. A Night of Seven Kingdoms are short stories following the adventures of Dunk and Egg. These stories are fleshed out, but these are simple stories. They don't really captivate people like the struggles of Game of Thrones, A Clash of Kings, and A Storm of Swords. Ultimately, I've reviewed all 5 books of the the series so far, and I can say with certainty that the first 3 books count as fantasy masterpieces. 5 stars, 4.5, depending on your personal opinion. But George R. R. Martin starts to lose his grip by the 4th and 5th book, Feast for Crows and Dance for Dragons. While reading it, you can sense that he really expended his greatest ideas in the first 3 books, and he has a lot less to work with in these 2. So you see a lot of repetition, kind of half-baked ideas. You see a lot of stuff that just doesn't have the narrative weight. It doesn't have the quality. Last 2 books seem like they do need more work and more insight in them to really make them happen. Now, George R. R. Martin has appeared in a recent event in New Mexico called BoobnaCon, and he gave a talk for about 80 minutes. And some people who were there, they talked about their opinions. Now, this is a Reddit post by someone who claims to be there and heard George R. R. Martin speak. I'll read the best parts to you. I went. There was not some huge A Song of Ice and Fire update. He said he was still working on Winds and that he was really stressed out about it and worrying and thinking about his legacy a lot. He was actually really vulnerable and heartfelt about his struggles. He hinted that there have been disagreements between him and the House of the Dragon showrunners. He talked about visiting Tolkien's grave and being struck by all the memorials left behind by fans. He said he dreamed of leaving such a legacy, but worried that he wouldn't if he didn't finish. He also said that he thinks of his characters as children, like all authors do, and he really wanted them to outlive him. He didn't seem bored or fed up with A Song of Ice and Fire. He seemed like he still loved it and had so many ideas he still wanted to bring to life. He also said House of the Dragon Season 1 was great. Season 2, I'm going to write a blog post about it. So this account, I'll take it with a grain of salt. Appeared on the internet. Someone claims that they heard him talk for 80 minutes. Whatever this is, it says something about what the fan base wants, I guess. George R. R. Martin has given so many excuses for Winds of Winter for the past 13 years, to the point where I take anything he says about his progress in his books with a grain of salt. His recent update said that he finished 3/4 of the book. But who knows, Who knows if he's telling the truth. Now, here's another great fantasy author that's finished a book recently. It's Andrzej Sapkowski of the Witcher franchise.
I have no plans right now. I finished the book. It took me maybe 2 years, something like this.
Well, Andrzej Sapkowski says that he finished the next Witcher book, and he did it in just 2 years. 13 years plus, versus 2 years. George R. R. Martin is hiding something. We can only speculate on what it is. Now, he said that, okay, one of his excuses is that he's too old and he doesn't work as fast. But it's 13 years. I mean, does it take decades to finish this book? I've talked about making your own ending for A Song of Ice and Fire. And there's so much content in the books that anyone who has writing talent can kind of figure out an ending, at least an ending that's better than the one that HBO has given. I just think that George R. R. Martin doesn't want to reveal his hand. He doesn't want to reveal that he actually has a bad hand, that the book that he has created is actually worse than his lowest rated book, A Feast for Crows. And he's afraid to disappoint everybody. And I think he's afraid of revealing the ending of A Song of Ice and Fire and having that jeopardize his future plans for his future shows. So he wants to keep an aura of mystery. And he knows it costs him attention, annoyance, big annoyance for him. But he's willing to take that risk. He might even be done with the book, who knows? Both books he might be already done, he just didn't release it, and he's just basically lying to everybody. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense. This is my best explanation, and if there's more evidence to prove that I'm wrong, then bring it up. Now, going forward, there's a new show for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Tales of Dunk and Egg. I've reviewed it on my channel, and it's really great that There's a new show, and it looks pretty good on the surface. Now, will it be as good as the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones? I doubt it. I've read the book, and I found it to be entertaining, 4 out of 5 stars, well written, but just simply not as good, nowhere as good as the first 3 books of A Song of Ice and Fire. So at the very best, they'll achieve a result that's similar to House of the Dragon Season 1. Song of Ice and Fire is a brilliant franchise, but it kind of rests on a rotten edifice. And it's like a house, a great big mansion that's partially collapsed. And it's unfortunate that it had to be like this. You know, that's life. Nothing is perfect. And I just enjoy the parts that were great. That's all I have to say about this. Thanks so much for watching. Please help out this channel by liking, subscribing, and ringing the notification bell. And check out the playlists. Comment below on what you think about A Song of Ice and Fire and its future.